take a toke, and all my cares go up in smoke. One toke over the line, sweet Jesus, one toke over the line. A bag of weed, oh, everything is better with a bag of weed. You can try and fight, but we're all agreed, because everything is better with a bag of weed.
Welcome to Waxy Brown's Flower Power Hour on K-Kid 92.9, where the green wave meets the airwaves. Jump on the bus and see what Waxy and the gang are up to this week. 2 hours of Canna Talk Radio. Listen to Waxy, Steve, and Tim legally rock and legally roll on the Waxy Brown's Flower Power Hour.
Man, the Waxy show's gonna be dope.
I am a cannabis man.
Hey, everybody. Oh, it's a rowdy bunch. Oh, man. Oh, calm down. Stop. Who threw that joint at me? Somebody threw a joint. I smoke blunts. You know, I smoke joints.
A lot of them.
Welcome to Waxy Brown's Flower Power Hour on K-Kid 92.9, where we are going to bring you those classic joints and a whole lot of information and education today. I'm going to click through my lineup as quick as I can and then get right into the Capitol Report from Christina Thompson. She's up there at Jeff City. We're going to talk to her in just a second. At 3:15, I'm going to have Justin Trowbridge from the Industrial Hemp Coalition. He's going to be on with Andrew Bish of Bish Enterprises. He's the CEO also of Hemp Harvest Works. We're going to talk about what it means to have hemp out there as a grain and as a feed for animals out there, our livestock. We're also going to bring you that explosive interview from Representative Wiley Price, the fourth. That is an amazing one. We're going to bring you that one live, not live, but we were there live at the Capitol. We're going to bring you that interview. And then I'm also going to have, this is really cool, man. We're going to bring on the podcast Top Shelf with Big V and Zach, man. One of my
Big V's going to be on today?
Yeah, man. I didn't tell
How'd
you
you
all
talk
that.
him into that?
Man, those are some busy cats, right?
I know
Yeah,
it.
we're going to talk about everything they got going on. And then we're also going to have Izzy. She's going to have some Terp talk for us this week, as well as we're going to bring you the interview from Peter Merideth as well, Representative Peter Merideth. Another really wonderful interview. Billy B caught those interviews out there, man. Good job, buddy. So, and then, of course, we're going to have Canna Convict Project and Ray from Weed Weather and whatever. And we're going to close out with a really special visit out. Larry from Stiffelman from Taste Buds is going to call in, tell us about these new low prices they have and the high THC counts they're representing out there. So we're going to talk about all that. So on the line right now, Christina Thompson, how are you?
Hey, how's it going?
Welcome to Waxy Brown's Flower Power Hour. I've been trying to get you on for a while. You've been busy at the Capitol. I want to tell folks.
It has been a busy 2 days.
Yeah, so it sounds like there's new legislation that's dropped at the Capitol, and the reason I wanted you on is you were actually kind of an author of part of the language within that legislation about sharing cannabis amongst each other. So take me for take me for a walk. What happened over the last 24 hours, 48 hours with that legislation, and then talk to me about that part that you were involved with, because I'm very interested in that.
Okay, so yesterday, let's back up a little bit. The day before yesterday, the bill was filed. We did not have a bill number for it, though, until yesterday. We had a huge group of people from the cannabis community show up at Jefferson City. We went door to door to each of our representatives' offices and, just explained what the Cannabis Freedom Act was, the fact that, we believe that this represents everything that people in the cannabis community want to see for an end to prohibition and marijuana legalization. So yesterday, anyone who was there at the Capitol yesterday actually got to witness the moment that this bill, received its bill number and basically became official. And if this passes, I mean, man, that's a historical moment right there.
So, yeah, I've talked about this bill, and we've actually given a lot of light and coverage to all of the different initiatives and all the bills, but this one in particular, we were very interested in getting into the depths of it, so we went to the Capitol, and we're going to play some of those interviews, but I agree with you that this one definitely takes things a step further than some of these other initiatives, even in this state and other states. It definitely, when we talk about expungement, like we talk about on this show, the definition of expungement seems to differ from legislation to initiative to just whoever's written it. What's your definition of expungement, Christina? What's it from a lay term? And let's not get this twisted. You're very much a in my eyes, a subject matter expert here. But for my listeners out there, what does expungement feel like in your eyes?
Expungement is being returned to the place that you were at before you were wrongfully convicted of something that should not have been on your record. So that means not only does it get erased from your record, but no one is allowed to discriminate against you for having like gaps in your employment, or any kind of history, where they're like, oh, where were you for 5 years? Why don't you have a work history? No one's allowed to discriminate against you for that. But it is essentially righting the wrong and putting you back to the same place that you're at, the same standing in your community that you were at before that wrongful conviction, before, the crime that you were charged with.
And that's already difficult when you're talking about coming back with a past that carries a bit of fear and stigma with it within your community. So we've really got to reach out and support those folks, because there's 40,000 Americans left behind, POWs, that are sitting in those jail cells over cannabis. So it's really good to hear that. I like the portion that you were that you're the author of, not kind of, but the authored. Can you tell me a little bit about that portion of it? Because I wasn't aware of it, which I was kind of ashamed of that. And then, and you schooled me, and man, I found out some really juicy details. Can you tell me a little more?
Yeah, so this is our legislative process at work. So whenever I found out that Representative Ron Hicks was drafting the Cannabis Freedom Act, I wanted to know what was in it, and one of the suggestions that I made was that it allows sharing. Our cannabis community, one of the fundamental parts of that is the fact that we are a community, and that means that we do want to interact with each other, and every other option so far has not allowed sharing. So I made that suggestion. I wrote a short little paragraph that I thought embodied, a good provision for sharing for anyone who's 21 years of age or older, or is a medical patient, basically anyone who's allowed to consume cannabis legally. They can share anything that they want.
As long as there's no financial transactions or anything like that.
Yes. As long as no money is exchanged, it's basically, gifting.
So we wouldn't have.
That's.
Go ahead.
Huh?
Sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's okay. And that's pretty reasonable. I think that's a very big deal to a lot of us.
Well, yeah, if you think about it, if Tim and I and you were sitting in our house, and we're going to play some billiards in the house, what can we do? Pull out a beer out of that refrigerator, and I can give you one of my beers.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly.
So you're asking for a level playing ground.
Yeah, and this is actually very similar to the homebrew laws, because everyone can brew a certain amount of alcohol every year without any kind of special licensing or authorization, and anyone who does that can legally share alcohol with other individuals as long as they're legally allowed, of the age where they can consume alcohol. So why not do the equivalent for cannabis?
Absolutely.
And that was what I said I felt was important to us, and they ended up including it. It's almost verbatim what I wrote. That was really, really amazing to be part of.
Well, I'm very proud to have you on the show, having that you're making a difference there. And the reality there is that the entities that we're trying to just get on level playing fields with, they're already entering our space. Budweiser, Coors, Coca-Cola, all of these different entities, they're already ready to release THC infused products, this, that, and the other. So, it's funny that we're in Jeff City, but they're in their boardrooms planning these items, and it's like, gosh, man, things just don't look the same on any side of this fence, right?
Yeah.
Listen,
Yep,
thanks a lot for doing what you're doing for the community. And the sharing thing, actually, I really didn't think a lot about it, but I mean, we talked about it when we first started the show. How if we wanted to medicate during the show, we each had to have our own instead of sharing.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, the laws are laws, but laws are meant to be expanded upon. I believe as our culture begins to show its face, and it is in so many ways, man. Everything from Snoop at the Super Bowl to the discussions of COVID and cannabinoids. Like, we're out there in the forefront, but we can be out there in the forefront all we want. all we want. We can be at the Super Bowl if we want to, but unless we're doing what folks like Christina, no. But if we
$50,000 tickets.
right?
What about you?
We have folks like Christina who are out there actually marching on the Capitol and talking to these folks. And look,
Buy
listen,
a lot of medicine with that.
but I'm not going to say that Snoop's never had language put into some legislation, but I just don't know that he has. And Christina, thank you so much for what you've done. What group are you with there that's making these moves and these plays out there?
Show Me Canna Freedom on Facebook. That is our group. We will be posting a lot of updates about the Cannabis Freedom Act, and we actually have a lot of other groups involved in this because, you know, it's a really great piece of legislation. And what you're talking about, going out there and changing things, you know, and going to the Capitol, writing pieces of legislation, being involved in this process, this is something everyone can do. You can walk right into your legislators' offices as long as they're there and during normal business hours, and you can tell them what's important to you. And that is one of the most important things about the Cannabis Freedom Act. If we in the community ultimately want this to happen, we have to start calling our legislators. We have to call our senators. We don't have very much time to push this through. So right now, if this is important to you, you need to send an email. If you've never sent an email in your life, now is the time to do it. So reach out to your legislators, tell them that you want the Cannabis Freedom Act. And, you know, I fully believe that we can do this. We are a community and we have a voice, and it's time for us to be heard.
Christina J. Thompson, y'all, you heard her Capitol Report. We appreciate you calling in, and we'll catch you on another show because you got a fiery personality, and we certainly have, fiery things to talk about.
That's right.
All right, Christina, we'll catch you
so
next
much for
time.
having me.
You bet. You guys
All
are
right,
listening to
great.
Waxy Brown's Flower Power Hour on K-Kid.
Before we jump off,
Oh,
let's tell
yeah.
them about what's going on up at Latitude this Sunday.
Oh, yeah. So I don't exactly know what that event's called, but at Latitude this Sunday, the team and I, Billy B, and I are heading up to record this event that they have where they're going to...
It's the third Sunday of every month.
Right. So they're going to bring in local artists. You can, I guess, paint their wall with chalk and all that. And I guess the theme is cultivating cannabis, caregiving, and home growing. So be really cool. So we're going to go up and report on that. We're going to bring it back to you guys so you can see just how cool it is to be a part of all this and to get that card and to be a part of what's going on. And I think they even said you don't have to be a card holder to be at that event because you're not in the back room. So, yeah, so
you can come kind of check it out and, you know, see if it's something that you're interested in.
Yeah, and that's what we're all about, trying to normalize that. So you guys tune in next week, and we're going to show you that footage and show you how much fun those folks are having.
There you go.
Really cool. Attitude Dispensary.
Where are they out of? Lake of the Ozarks,
Lake of the Ozarks,
Yeah.
yeah, man. Their slogan is "Get Here."
Nice.
All right, guys. Waxy Brown's Flower Power. We'll be right back.
Final question. Can you name two things?
Play better music and less crappy music.
K-Kid 92.9.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Waxy Brown's Flower Power Hour on K-Kid 92.9. Yeah, we can hear you, Andrew. What's up, buddy? Hey, we got Justin Trowbridge from Industrial Hemp Coalition, as well as Andrew Bish from Bish Enterprises and the CEO of Hemp Harvest Works. We're going to talk a lot about hemp and feed. Justin, what's going on, buddy?
Yeah, well, so you guys know I like to bring in some interesting guests and all that, and Andrew Bish is one of those people where he does a lot of cool stuff in the hemp space. And, I'm part of the Industrial Hemp Coalition. I actually met Andrew when I was doing the Nebraska Hemp Industries Association board up there. And then obviously we had Jeff Whaling last week with the National Hemp Association. So it's kind of the entourage effect that the plant teaches us, right? You bring in all the experts you can, and that's the way you get the best results. And Andrew Bish is one of those experts. So every time I do this, by the way, he pays me $10. So I'm waiting for all the money to just pile in at once. But Andrew, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you guys are doing and walk us through a little bit of the fun new stuff you got on the horizon.
Oh, well, thank you, Justin. Am I coming through okay?
Yeah, you betcha.
Yep,
we hear
awesome.
you good, Andrew. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, great. Thank you guys for having me. Well, so what are we doing now? Well, the winter time is always an opportunity for us to reflect on the products that we put out in the field the previous year, literally, and kind of come back and regroup and do some design changes as we work to manufacture products for this coming season. So the past month and a half have really been heavily focused on design modifications and setting up for manufacturing for this coming season. And we've got most of our products that we've been spending time on for this coming season are in the grain and fiber category, but we have done we've continued to do work in the CBD area, just not quite as extensively this year as in previous years.
So with the fiber side, we had also, I think Justin had mentioned something about using hemp for feed, and that's not something that I had ever heard of before. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, that's actually kind of a limiting factor in the growth of the industry currently. Is the lack of ability to feed animals hemp. And if you go into Europe, you'll see that hemp is used as a silage. Grain is fed to a variety of different animals. But here in the United States, even though you can go into the stores and you can buy hemp hearts, hemp grain, and you can ingest that as a human, it's not legal yet from an animal food ingredient to insert that into the diet of any type of production animal, according to the FDA. So you can't feed that to your cow and then sell that cow into the marketplace, for instance. And as a result, we're not seeing major feed suppliers.
So I guess I kind of got to ask, like, it seems like if it's embraced elsewhere, what's the pushback here? Does that have anything to do with the fact that we have a little bit of fear and stigma still attached to the plant?
Yeah, so the pushback there's a process that you have to go through with the FDA and CVM to introduce a new animal food ingredient, and they do a lot of different testing. I work with an organization called the Hemp Feed Coalition, and they've got an application in we have an application in with the FDA CVM right now. And to answer your question, the pushback is surrounding THC, concern about THC being in seeds or in the animal feed ingredient, and then the potential transference. Basically, any potential concern that they have, they've rolled out in opposition to adding hemp as an animal feed ingredient in any form.
So most of the forward progress then has been with the fiber and grain then, and not that side of it.
Yeah, the real industry growth right now is going to be seen in the fiber markets, as there's not a lot of restriction there in terms of what the product capability looks like. Obviously, from a building material standpoint, there's a lot of materials that are going to have to get certified before they're used as building materials. But outside of that, there's really nothing that inhibits the stock industry from moving forward.
Okay, so if you're a farmer in the Midwest,
Which
and you're like,
we have a lot of those.
yeah, so we want to get into it. What do we do? How do we find out, this industrial hemp thing? It's like nobody wants to talk about the value of what these products can do, so we're trying to skirt it by putting it on different, like citing in different decorative ways. But I mean, is it all just political at this point?
No, I mean, I think that the challenge for farmers right now is really just actually having processing capability. The processing infrastructure in the United States hasn't really built out in the way that many people hoped it would. It's definitely starting in 2022. We're seeing a fair amount of build out across the Midwest, actually. And as that continues to occur, that's going to provide farmers the real opportunity, because then they'll have a market to sell it to, which is going to be quite a bit different model from the CBD model of grow it and hope that you have a buyer. You really want to make sure that you've got that buyer and then grow it for their purposes.
And I think a lot of people don't expect, if you grow fiber, that you have to have they expect that you have to have the dual head combines and this custom crazy stuff. But
yeah, I'm thinking this is like a $1 billion thing I got to get into. Is it not?
Yeah, fiber's a little bit easier to get into if you're doing fiber focused plants. They have a shorter growing cycle. You're not going to have them in the field as long as a grain or a cannabinoid plant. You're looking at maybe a 90-day growth period, and then you're cutting and baling. So a lot of the equipment that's used in the hay industry will lend itself very well to this. Although having some specialized cutting equipment could be handy. Traditional balers, traditional tractors, traditional rakes, those types of equipment lend themselves to fiber production.
So we will be able to basically have hemp in bales that we can sell.
Just like
I think we're going to see a lot of that this year.
Right.
2022 is going to be a lot of stock production throughout the United States and a lot of different areas. Absolutely.
So, Andrew, how did you get into this?
Yeah,
I mean, what's your entry into the cannabis hemp industry?
How'd you become this hemp magician?
It was definitely by accident. We work in a business that focuses on solving the challenges of today's producers, and we had one of our customers that was contracted to grow hemp back in 2015 in Colorado come to us looking for some solutions, and I didn't know anything about the industry at that time. I just knew that we had a farmer that we needed to help, so we went out there and found some ways to help them that year, and that's when I saw that there was a real opportunity to help more producers find solutions, and so we've stayed and continued to work in the industry since then.
So do you believe a lot of the hemp business will come to the Midwest because of the farming experience?
I think mathematically it has to. When you look at geographic growing region and the number of acres available, the Midwest is the primary to do it. When you're looking at premium smokable flower products like that, I still think the Oregon area is going to beat out the Midwest all day long. But the Midwest, from a grain and stock standpoint, will absolutely be the dominant players in the industry.
Oh, wow. What a great conversation. Andrew Bish from Bish Enterprises. Where can folks find out more? And is there a website out there?
Yeah, you can visit us, our hemp website, hempharvestworks.com, our traditional ag website, www.bishenterprise.com. You can get a hold of me at both locations.
Very, very cool. Andrew, we appreciate you. Justin, we want to talk for just a minute about a new project that we're launching today. Can you let my listeners know what we've got cracking?
Well, after Rick rolling about 700 people in the last 2 weeks with that dummy link, we're actually going live with Waxy Brown's flowerpowerhour.com. So when you get in there, we'll make the switch at the end of the show today. But we've got everything from Canna stories, where it's people's path to cannabis. We've got upcoming events. We have a session room where you can get in there and chat with other people. There's even a veterans corner. You can see information like previous guests that have been on the show multiple times. You can get in touch with them. Podcast archives. And the one that's the craziest, I think, is probably the store. So you're able to buy all kinds of stuff, from water bottles that have Bluetooth speakers in them to There's a giant
T-shirts.
shirt, T-shirts and hats, a big Sherpa hoodie and stuff. So all of it's print on demand, so you shouldn't have to worry about being out of stock too long. But there's plenty of cool stuff, and then we've hidden Easter eggs all over the site.
I've had so much fun with it, just clicking everywhere and checking everything out. You can run the K-Kid board on there. There's a game. There's all kinds of just really cool stuff. And you can also just kind of take your way through the Waxy Browns neighborhood. Go to all my sponsors out there. You want to see what Taste Buds has got going on, or Latitude, or any of these cats that are putting us on. We're going to take you through that neighborhood. So really, really cool. But, I just want to put a big shout out to you, Justin, because you've put hundreds of hours into this, and the work that you've done has been phenomenal. And when you guys get over there and see the professionalism behind this, you guys are going to try and steal my dude, and you can't. He's not, you can't have him. All right. But he does take side projects. So y'all hit us up if you need something dope done.
Doesn't he have
side hustle of a side hustle?
Yeah. Don't you have like a Master's of Science in Marketing?
He has a Master's of Eternity, or...
You guys have a master's in poking the bear with that joke. Every time I talk to you, so.
Masters of the Universe or something. I don't even know.
Yeah, it's He-Man. It's all He-Man.
Well, we really appreciate you, brother.
Grateful, my fam.
Yep.
All right, guys, Steve's going to take us out to a song, and when we get back, you're going to hear an explosive interview I had at the Capitol between myself and Representative Wiley Price IV. He had some pretty intense things he had to say, and I was all ears because I needed to hear him, and I think everybody else out there does too. We're going to take you to a tune. When we get back, we're going to get a little serious.
Little BTO. This one's Let It Ride.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Waxy Brown's Flower Power Hour. We're going to take you to an interview here in a moment in Jefferson City. So one of the things we like to do is if there's something happening out there in the cannabis world, no matter what it is, maybe it's a grand opening, maybe it's a patient drive. We like to talk about those things, right? Well,
And like a blunt rolling contest.
or a blunt rolling contest, yeah, which we've done those too, you know. But this is a little more serious because cannabis is being talked about in the Capitol, and we need to understand exactly what they're talking about. So I found myself going up in the Capitol with Ethan Thampy, and he walked me around to some of these folks. And so I wanted to interview a couple of the Black Caucus members because I had, one thing that really intrigued me about this legislation was that it had a kind of, it was bipartisan, right? It had both sides. So I was kind of very, very interested in hearing what they had to say. In this interview, there were some things I needed to hear, and I think there were some things that needed to be said. So are you guys got that queued up for us? All right, well, Steve and Billy B are going to take us over to this interview, guys. We'll be right back. Hey, everybody, it's Waxy Brown from Waxy Brown's Flower Power Hour, KK 92.9 out of Rolla, Missouri, and Salem. We're here with Representative Wiley Price, the fourth, out of St. Louis, Missouri, one of our representatives holding it down for the people up here at the Capitol. We're here today to talk about, legalization efforts with cannabis. And when we talk about legalization efforts with cannabis, one thing we can't not talk about, one thing we have to talk about are the 40,000 Americans that are left behind in jail as a billion-dollar industry goes forward. So, Representative Price, thank you very much for taking the time today to talk to us. My question today really comes down to what does expungement in Missouri look like for you? Because we find that with these different initiatives, different bills, different legislations, that's a word that seems to redefine itself over and over and over. So, from your perspective, from being up here, what does that look like for you?
For me personally, I think that expungement should be just that. I mean, the true definition of the term. It should be a second chance. It should be a start over. It should be an eradication of whatever you've done in the past. And if it's not that, then you're not really truly expunging. You're doing something else. It's a deviation of whatever the term is. And so I think it speaks more to people not really wanting to give people a second chance and wanting to keep a grip on a head start on a large portion of the general public. Expungement should be a true second chance, and nobody should be able to pull up anything on me in regards to this issue that was expunged by the state, which is the same sovereign body that gave me the F on my report card, right? So they've taken accountability for that. They said, okay, well, we realize now that times have changed, like we feel differently about this, we remove that. If it's not that, then what you're doing is selling wolf tickets.
So that's a great way to put that, second chance. I haven't heard it really put like that before. When we talk about a second chance, then we aren't just talking about erasing some records or knocking off some charges that are on a case net somewhere. We're talking about programs as well, correct?
No, absolutely. I mean, you have to have, okay, so programs, again, jail is supposed to be a debt to society. That's the term that we use. And so if it's a debt to society, then society then has to do their part. It's a debt on twofold. So you've done your time. Now that you come out, so there has to be systems on both sides. So what I would like to see is some kind of program implemented on the inside to where if this is the place of your expertise, institutional knowledge that you've had, whether it was legal or illegal, okay, cool. You want to stay in this arena? We'll give you 6 weeks of education on the plant, and when you come out into a halfway house. It's actually a cultivation facility.
Wow.
See what I'm saying? And so then you have programs on the outside that are waiting for these people to come out. We have a workforce issue in this state. So you can't both have the highest amount of people locked up and a workforce issue. You feel what I'm saying? So you're going to have to integrate those things. There has to be an intersection. That is the intersection. So people from these industries should have some type of situation where they have set up where they know that these people are coming out. They know that they've been properly trained. They know that we already have a situation right now coming out of the pandemic where we don't have a lot of people showing up to work. We have a staffing issue in every entity of business. And this is an easy way to fix a lot of issues. I don't know exactly what the number is of Missouri prisoners that are locked up for marijuana charges, and I'm speaking specifically nonviolent.
Of course.
You know what I mean? So I don't know what that number is, but I know that would be a huge boost not only to the economy but also to the workforce once those people got out and properly trained.
Yeah, on twofold there, you mentioned the jobs. I just read that 1 in 10 new jobs in Missouri were cannabis-related jobs. And as adult use passes, that's going to be a whole lot more jobs. So to have something like you're talking about in place would be a blessing.
Yeah, I think that is, again, it is a second chance. I think that people, a lot of people have given up and are kind of stepped back and just okay with the life that they've had to live because they made a mistake at 20, 21, young, and now they're 32, got a family, trying to make a move, but they still got this F on their report card. If you expunge that, and this person's been completely on the up and up for the last 15 years of his life, expunge that, give them the opportunity to go into situations where they don't have to check that box.
You touched on something too that I'd like to touch on, and that's that we don't know the number of folks that are left behind that are behind bars for cannabis. That's because a lot of the folks that got charged were charged with things like manufacturing or distribution of a controlled substance, things like that. Going forward, I think that I hope and pray that there'll be a conversation where we can figure out ways to identify and get that data and find those people that are there instead of just anecdotal.
Absolutely. There has to be, and it unfortunately it can't be a one size fits all situation. It kind of has to be a case by case basis. But I mean that's what it was going in, so that's what it's got to be coming out. You know what I mean? We didn't put a blanket over a group of people, and in theory we kind of did. But I'm saying these are case by case incidences where people were found guilty and they went in for their charges.
You've been a proponent for legalization and for smart legalization for a while now in your district. Do you feel like this is possibly the year that we're going to see these laws begin to land and begin to see forward movement?
I think that this is the year that we're going to see the needle move in a way that we haven't seen it move in the past. I think that the legislature now understands the public threat and the public power of IPs. I mean, that's clear. And right now we are trying to pass a bill to make it harder to pass IPs. We're going to make it harder to get them, more expensive, more signatures. A greater amount of votes to pass and change the Constitution, all of that. We're trying to make it to where a certain amount of the population has to vote in order to make it pass and change the Constitution. And I always remind people they wouldn't be working this hard to make it harder to involve yourself in the democracy if they didn't notice that it was working and the people were actually trying to use it for their advantage. So we have to be conscious of that. Again, it's twofold. People, and I hear a lot of bitching and moaning about what politicians do. Like, it's your fault they're a politician. And that's the real. You got an option to go vote. You got an option to get people to go vote. You got an option to go out here and garner the vote and garner people to go out and register to vote and then go vote. Like, and if you're not doing that, in my opinion, in my position, I'm like, shut up. You know what I mean? Because I'm here and I see a lot of people on the other side where I'm like, I'm not sure that you're here for the people. And honestly, the people on my side, I'm not sure that they're here for the people. But like, we as the people, have to be in a position where we understand our power. The biggest way that people give up their power is by thinking that they never had any. And that's where we at in politics with the general public.
Well, I can say this from the cannabis community out there, we've got one big topic that is just driving us all absolutely insane when you talk about the different initiatives and the different legislations, and that is expungement and that is social equity. So from the cannabis community to one of us, I just really appreciate you being there and having these conversations and making sure that it's heard the way it needs to be.
Yeah, the social equity piece is something completely different. That's something so that's a different kind of conversation. I'm probably going to say something that is very unpopular, but
you're not going to say anything that's not going to trust me.
The marijuana industry. Let me put it this way: white folks in the marijuana industry have to get behind and have to be okay with an equity program, and they have to be okay with the fact that like black people specifically need an opportunity to get ahead here and have an opportunity to have generational wealth, and they should not be coming in at another disadvantage when they've already been put at disadvantage about this particular plant in particular.
Right. You look at New Jersey; they just awarded all their licenses to all white folks. Like that's to me that's an insane.
But that is, it's not insane because it's not insane. Insane would suggest that it is outside the norm. You feel what I'm saying?
Definitely.
And so like it's just not. And so like it becomes the issue of, are white people in the marijuana business really our ally or not? It's cool to smoke a J. It's cool to hang out and ha and laugh. But when it really comes to feeding my family, are you really my ally or not?
So then I asked, when you talked earlier about the social programs and all that, those now that I look back at what you said, those seem like just real hyper local and hyper to the expungement issue and all that. But what you're really looking for is a much bigger conversation, and it needs to happen.
It needs to happen within the field in which is affected. There are a lot of white folks in this business that have a lot. I mean, like any other business, they come in, whoever has the most capital wins the game. For all the obvious reasons, this game should not be played like that. It's just another situation where we're coming to the monopoly board and everybody's already got their 1,500 and we're starting with nothing. And everybody's like, well, you got to have 1,500 to start going around the board to get the dice. And it's just like, well.
And that's got to be really frustrating looking at the current initiatives that are on gathering signatures across the board.
It's frustrating that it's getting the movement that it's getting within the industry. That's what's frustrating, is that the industry is not coming out and saying, look, this ain't right. It's supposed to be a together industry. It's supposed to be about all, we all together in this and we all coming from the same vein. And it's not. It's a clear split, and it's a clear, deafening silence on behalf of those who are with that, and they know the cons that come with that, and they don't care because it doesn't affect them. And this is the same tone and attitude and tone deafness that we've had in other issues that creates a split and that creates a situation where once we get into the game, there's a certain level of indignance that we have towards the other people that are already in the game. And then that creates something where people are like, well, we don't want to do business with that person. And now we're saying, oh, we don't want to do business because I'm black. And now we back to square one on a situation where we could have had a clean slate, but we had to fight again. We're tired of fucking fighting in every industry, in every field, every time. Like, this should not be a debate. This shouldn't be an argument. Like, white people should be coming to us with great ideas about social equity. Or even better, white people should be asking us what we want in social equity in this business that's coming, this new enterprise that's hit the Missouri state. Like, that's what it should be happening, and it's not. And it's beyond frustrating for those of us who are just like, look, man, I'm not even in the industry, but like, I know fair is fair. And like, these are the same people that are going to be bitching and moaning and call themselves progressives on other issues.
Very good. I'm grateful for your time. I know that was a strong conversation, but a lot of this stuff isn't being heard or talked about in other forums. So I really appreciate you taking the time and talking to us and talking to the folks out here.
Right on, bro.
Awesome stuff. Representative Wiley Price, the 4th, out of St. Louis, Missouri. We really appreciate you being up here and being a voice for cannabis and being a voice for the folks. Okay, guys, welcome back to Waxy Brown's Flower Power Hour on KKID 92.9. That was what's happening? That was a very engaging, very energetic conversation. And knock it off, Steve. Steve's messing with me on the boards.
I think there's a little passion in that conversation.
I do, and I think I had a lot of respect afterwards for how strong the conversation got and how we were able to navigate through it.
So what's next,
Steve?
Yeah,
I'm waiting for it to start.
Oh, okay.
It's
Gotcha.
They're
So
talking backwards.
who is?
There you go.
All
Do we
right.
have a caller? It's 46?
Nope, I don't have a caller.
Okay, well, we'll see who this is then.
Yeah, check it out.
All right, do you want to play a song?
Yeah, I think we're going to go to a song, and when we get back, we're going to talk to Big V, Top Shelf, Big V, and Zach out there. So take us away, Steve. We'll be right back with y'all. It's been a heck of a show. I thought we were going to break. You caught me off guard.
Well, we are going to go to a break,
right on.
but
Yeah,
we
so-
got to kind of say why we're going to a break.
So we're going to go to break, and when we get back, we're going to. I got Top Shelf with Big V and Zach. Stu Does the News, one of my favorite podcasts out there, man. These guys had me on about a month ago, 3 weeks ago, on their podcast, and it was a lot of fun, man. They take it to the next level with education, information, and all that for the patients and the caregivers out there. So it's pretty wild, man. And they got a really cool event coming up they want to talk about on the show. So it's going to be a really good conversation. I know you guys are having fun so far. We're going to continue to have that kind of fun when we get back with that one. Sound good?
All right, let's roll.
All right, let's take us to commercial. You guys listen to Waxy Brown's Flower Power Hour, K-Kid 92.9. Everybody, welcome back to Waxy Brown's Flower Power Hour on K-Kid 92.9 right here in the Grozarks. Speaking of growing, we have one of my favorite troops out there doing the podcast thing today. We've got Top Shelf with Big V and Zach. We got Stu Does the News over there with those guys. I want to give a quick introduction, though, about these cats. The guys I'm going to bring on, they focus, on here we focus a lot on, a lot of different kind of issues and all that. And one thing that I often wish that I did more of was reach out and talk more about the caregivers, the home growing, the patients, the ability to grow our own plants here and what that means for people. And these cats, that's what they do. They make sure that the patients on the ground understand everything that they've got available to them, assets, information, education. So welcome to the program, folks. We got the Top Shelf crew in the house. You guys there?
Yeah, we're here.
How's it going? Good. I want to give a quick disclaimer out there for all you folks on the FM. These cats may cough just a little bit. All right, guys. I want to ask you guys what got you guys started with this this podcast that you guys have. What was the inspiration?
Go for it, Zach.
Well, we
we're
both Vernon and I are both Big V and I are both veterans.
Thank you for your service.
That's how we got. Yeah, we both veterans. That's how we got connected and all this. And Vernon kind of had a vision of a podcast at one time. Just kind of brought it up to me, and I wouldn't let it go. And this all kind of came of that. And
it kept bugging the crap out of me.
Well, it was bugging the
Sorry, you caught me in the middle of an exhale.
That's okay. So first off, thank you guys for your service, man. That's really cool. We know you guys are spreading a lot of that cannabis education love to the veterans out there as well. I think, do all you cats caregive for other folks?
Yes, we are all caregivers.
So let's talk about that for a second. Let's talk about what that means in Missouri when we talk about caregiving. You guys take us for a spin there because we got a lot of listeners out there who aren't currently cultivating, aren't doing all that, and they aren't really sure what that means when we say caregiving. What's it mean?
Well, so caregivers in Missouri can provide cannabis to up to 3 patients. Each of those patients can have 6 of their own plants cultivated by the caregiver. And so, that's why as soon as I had the opportunity, I jumped on board with that really quick because, it's all about cannabis independence. So,
yeah, so I want to, take that a little further. So as a caregiver, okay, what we do is we basically are commissioned by our patients. We take care of their plants for them. We grow them the medication that they need. We don't necessarily provide them with the medication. We take care of their plants. And this is the way it has to be worded, and this is the way it is in the with DHSS. So we grow and manage their garden for them. You can also have a caregiver that goes to a second caregiver. A patient can have 2 caregivers. One caregiver can be in charge of their garden, and the other caregiver can be in charge of transporting their meds to them. Mm-hmm. And that caregiver can also go to the dispensary and purchase medication from the dispensary and take that back to the patient.
Now, why would it be important to bring it back to the patient? Are we talking about patients that can't necessarily take care of these things themselves?
Or can't get to the dispensary?
Well, absolutely. There's a lot of patients that are in wheelchairs. For whatever reason, they're incapacitated. They can't move and do for themselves. And rather than load them up in a vehicle and take all the time, if anybody's ever worked with the disabled before, you know how difficult, and time consuming it can be to get them loaded into a vehicle and taken to where they need to be and unload them and all the chair and everything that comes along with that, take them inside the dispensary, get their meds, and then go through it again. So, it's important that the caregiver can actually go to the dispensary, pick up the medication if they've registered with the dispensary, pick up the medication for the patient and take it back to them. And it's just a lot more.
It saves a lot of the hassle.
Ergonomical, I guess.
Sure.
Right. So it all comes back to access.
Access,
right.
right.
Our mission, basically is to do anything that we can do that helps gain people access to medication. And that can be teaching them how to grow. That's through caregiving. That's through charitable things, giving away, souvenir beans and things like that.
Yeah, let's talk about that because one of the things we've done is we've set out we wanted to build a platform of giving back, okay, or paying it forward, whatever you want to call it. And so we built this platform where not only us, we petition our viewers and our sponsors to all pitch in. We've given away well over $10,000 of souvenir genetics.
Seeds, yeah, you bet.
Plus
into the hands of patients who, many of them can't really, afford to go out and spend $60-$70 on a pack of seeds.
Or even know where to get it. And for the longest time, it was such a scary deal to even try to even think about having a cannabis, a quote live cannabis seed, come to your house, because it's illegal. So
Well,
I didn't even realize that we had so much access to genetics.
Well, let's normalize that word for my listeners real quick, because a lot of them don't cultivate. When we talk about genetics, take us for a quick little 30-second walk, what that means to folks that don't grow, why genetics are important.
Okay. Genetics, when you're talking about cannabis genetics in the simplest terms, it's just like anything else that's alive. With roses, you've got several different varieties of roses. Orchids, you've got several different varieties of orchids, all the way to tomatoes, pumpkins, watermelons. You've got different varieties, and to carry those varieties on and to keep them pure, you look at the genetics. And breeding cannabis is a lot like breeding horses or breeding dogs. You're looking very close at the dominant traits and trying to carry forward the positive traits that you want to carry forward in the next cultivar. So, that's in simple terms, a genetic. When you hear the word tangy dream, that should speak to you what the genetics of that plant is. And so, if you're if you need an uplifting effect, you're going to look for genetics that carry that type of effect, and the THC or the cannabinoid profiles and the terpene profiles that you want. And those come with the certain types of genetics, more of a sativa dominant tend to carry specific terpenes and have specific results when you ingest them, and indica is the same way. And all the hybrids, you can actually dial a plant in and get, if you with selective breeding, you can actually create a cultivar that gives you exactly what you need. So that's basic. Genetics are just in cannabis is just like genetics and anything else. It's the structure, it's the DNA of the plant,
family tree,
and where it comes from and the traits that has been carried on through selective breeding.
Let's talk about the podcast for a second. Now, for my folks out there watching the YouTube and the live stream on the internet there, you guys can see what we got going on here. We got three really, really cool dudes, man, sitting around a table. They got the Big Lebowski on the wall behind them. And I'm pretty sure that those jars behind Big V's head might be filled with all those beautiful things he was just talking about. So
it's hard to say.
Yeah, and there's some dab rigs laying around, and they're having a good time, guys. Tell us
There's
what.
There's just gooey stuff in this jar, man. I'm trying to get rid of it all.
Tell us what happens during your podcast, guys. Take us on a quick little walk. What that sounds like.
A little of everything happens on our podcast nowadays. We're kind of
It's kind of a lot of stuff that can't happen on your show.
It's kind of a wild show, man.
That's why I love it, right?
Honestly, we come on here and we try to educate, we try to forward cannabis culture. We try to help everybody, access. We love the term cannabis independence. We want everyone to be able to achieve that.
What is that? What is that?
Well, that's just when you don't have to depend on anyone else to, provide your cannabis for you.
Grow your own.
That's kind of like, we know that a lot of people go to dispensaries, and that's great for them and everything. But, kind of the core of everything we do comes around growing your own.
I was a little concerned when you said cannabis independence, because I don't want to be independent from my cannabis.
Yes. No. Cannabis, if you achieve cannabis independence, you're doing good.
Where can folks find that podcast, guys?
So we are on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch under Top Shelf with Big V and Zach.
All you have to do is Google Top Shelf with Big V and Zach, and you'll find us.
Yep. It's all over.
So.
Hey, aren't these guys the ones throwing the big party?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask next.
We go live every Tuesday night at 7:00 Central Time, and man, I mean. Last night, we totally botched a press job.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm supposed to be pressing rosin, and I totally blew it. But that's cool because we'll do it again next week.
Right.
That's what we do,
Very
cool. It's a learning process, but
Yeah, there's like a little news thing, in the middle somewhere.
Hashtag Stu is my news, so he's our news guy.
So I know. Oh, go ahead. I was gonna say Stu, that's where I get my news is from Stu. So.
Yeah, right, man. After our discussion the other day, man, I'm be hitting you up for some news. That was an awesome interview, by the way. That we saw just a little bit ago. So appreciate you heading down to the Capitol or up to the Capitol, whichever way.
Yeah, thank everything you do, man.
Yeah, for real.
That's
I'm
what
just
it takes. That's
grateful
what it's gonna
grateful to
take.
be doing it, guys.
We just all need to work together.
Yep. So
Absolutely.
you guys are
And
I gotta let you guys know. Tim, my co-host, is a fan of the artist. That's not happening there. That's it.
No, a fan of their party that they're getting ready to have.
You guys have. You guys don't.
B420.
Are you guys the ones that have Josh Hendricks?
Yes. we
Oh
are.
man, that's what I'm talking about. Man, I was a big fan down in the Springfield area. Tell us about the party.
Well, Josh is going to be basically the headlining act, and he's just going to do some acoustics. Just a cool jam session. He's not bringing the whole band, and that's kind of what I requested, because I used to see him sometimes in Lawrence when he played with, he'd play with, Slightly Stupid and stuff, and I kind of dug him, so I thought it'd be cool to have him here. And I hit up Ben, Ben actually told me he knew him, so got it arranged, and he's going to be there. And that's
What's the party called? Where's it at, guys?
It
is
B420.
B420.
Yep, the B420 celebration. It'll be at the Truman on April 16th in downtown Kansas City.
And the Truman's a big event center. It's a concert hall. We have an upstairs bar VIP for all the sponsors. If you buy a sponsorship, you get so many entries to come up to the VIP. There's a cash bar. It's going to be catered by Petra. And if you know what that means.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Twice Baked is going to...
50 vendors. We've got all sorts of stuff.
And this is an expo, man. We wanted to bring a real cannabis expo to Missouri with different companies representing their brands, and that's what we're trying to do here. And we're bringing it into the city. We're blocking off a city block there. We're blocking off Cherry Street.
I like this part. I like this part a lot.
We're going to have indoor, outdoor, Kansas City, I hear, has pretty much decriminalized everything. And as long as everybody's got a medical card, it is a private event outside of the venue. So I'll just let that be up to
just everybody be respectful. That's what this plant's about, man. If we could show up and we can all just hang out and have a good sesh, that's what it's all about, man. I really appreciate you guys not only providing a cool party, but providing one of the most educational and informative podcasts I have ever ran across. And, man, I've studied a lot of them out there to try and get to where I'm at with this thing. And you guys have always been top shelf in my book. So appreciate what you guys do for the patients. I'm also grateful for your service, and I'd love to have you guys on more. And you guys are going to be at MoCannaFest, I believe, too. So this is going to be awesome. And I think
we're looking forward to that.
My buddies from the Dab Stars, Nick Woodward, got a hold of me and said he wanted me for some celebrity judging at your event. So this is going to be a lot of fun, man. We'll be there live.
Are you gonna do it?
Yeah, of course, man. We'll come down there.
We'll have Uncle Stoner come down doing the
squash, man. He's
yeah, man. Uncle Stoner.
Missouri.
Yeah, we're excited.
And this is an international event, the squash off. It's not some little rinky dink, man. This is an international event, and he's going to bring that to Kansas City. And Nick and Dab Stars is they're making that happen. They're bringing them. And so it's going to be really cool, man. And
can't wait.
It's going to be a big party. It's going to be an event, a festival, all kind of in one. And we plan on doing this every year. So it's just going to get bigger. But we're definitely, dude, right back at you with everything you just said. We appreciate you as much as what you expressed to us. And we're definitely going to be down supporting you at your event. And hopefully we can liven up the party a little bit.
Every time. That's Top Shelf with Big V and Zach, and Stu is my news man. We've had a good conversation. We will catch you guys next time. Steve's going to take us to a little bit of tunage, I think, right?
Appreciate you
guys.
Thanks, fellas.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys.
Stay waxy, y'all.
Well, I tell you what, that Nick Woodward, we need to have him back in again. Those guys are
superstar.
everywhere.
Yeah, man.
Right.
Yeah, but
Yep, they are.
awesome
Very
stuff,
cool.
man. I love those guys.
All right, you are listening to the Waxy Brown Show right here on K-Kid 92.9.
Everybody, welcome back to Waxy Brown's Flower Power Hour on K-Kid 92.9, where we're having a great time. So I got one of our favorite content producers on the planet from www.greenbee-learn.com. We got Izzy Clawson on for Terp Talk. Izzy, welcome back to the program.
Hi.
What are we talking about this week, Izzy?
Yeah, so this week I wanted to talk about Delta 8 and specifically how it contrasts with Delta 9 because there's a lot of Delta 8 out there. It has gained huge popularity. Now it feels like almost everyone has at least heard of Delta 8, but, really understanding what that cannabinoid is and, why it makes you feel the way it does and kind of understanding those misconceptions I think is really important as we move forward with these other cannabinoids coming out as well.
So before you get into that, and just to kind of give you a heads up, Channel 5 last night on Channel 5 News had this big story about Delta 8 and how people were being put on respirators after smoking it. So
A bunch of misinformation.
well,
Big pharma.
It was based on the vapes, the Delta 8 vapes, not just the flower.
Right.
Okay, so when you talk about Delta 8, let's clarify that this is the cannabis-based Delta 8, not something mixed with the cartridge that you don't know what that breakdown was.
Yeah, she's gonna take us through a walk because there are a lot of street products out there.
And that's huge and very important to note. When Delta 8 is a cannabinoid that's not as super big in the cannabis plant, it's not found in like large quantities. So a lot of times to get Delta 8, we have to synthesize it from CBD. And so to synthesize something like Delta 8, you do need various materials. And with it being so legal-ish, it's definitely not illegal. It comes under the hemp law, but there's definitely not regulations with it. And due to that, you do have to be very cautious with who you're getting your, especially vape carts from, because there could be various things mixed in. And if you don't know the label, you don't know what the company's practices are, you can end up getting something that is very dangerous, despite the fact that there is medicinal benefits to Delta 8. You want to make sure that Delta 8 you're consuming is good, legitimate Delta 8.
So let's talk about Delta 8. What is it?
Okay, so Delta 8, the way I describe it, is the little cousin of Delta 9, THC. And it's important to note that when we say Delta 8, we're still talking about THC. Delta 9 is also THC. Just so we normally hear the word THC, we're thinking of Delta 9, which is that psychoactive cannabinoid that is illegal still in many states. But Delta 8 is very similar. It's like a little cousin, and it does still have some psychoactive effects that Delta 9 has, just not necessarily to the same degree. And I was very skeptical of this cannabinoid at first. I remember when, there was kind of rumors that Delta 8 was a thing, it could get you high, but some people said it didn't, and so I was unsure, and so I had to test it out myself, and I bought a 1,000 milligram Delta 8 cake whenever I was in Chicago, and it completely changed my perception on Delta 8. Took a couple bites just to try it out, and definitely did the job. So I will say to people who are skeptical, when you do get good, legitimate Delta 8, there's definitely psychoactive properties to the Delta 8.
I find myself, I use Delta 8 products, my wife and I do, and what we use them for is to help get rest at night. I found that it really is that product that at the end of the day, I'll take a couple of Delta 8 edibles and find myself in a real relaxed, because I have trouble chasing sleep, so it's good to find products that help.
Yeah, for sure. Delta 8 has a variety of medicinal benefits, and one of those big ones is actually helping sleep patterns and helping regulate your sleep. A lot of times when it comes to, picking the right thing before bed, like you said, sometimes Delta 8 is even preferred over Delta 9 because it is so good at helping with sleep. And there's a lot of other benefits, potential benefits of Delta 8, such as relieving stress, improving focus, easing pain, reducing anxiety, boosting appetite, and relieving nausea and vomiting. Sometimes Delta 8 is actually even preferred to THC in nausea cases as well because it's really good at helping with nausea. And in addition to these medicinal benefits, I also recommend Delta 8 for people that tend to get paranoid with Delta 9. If someone said, hey, I've tried this whole weed thing, but it makes me really paranoid and I don't like it, I normally say, hey, well, if you're willing to give it another chance, try Delta 8, because it still is going to get you stoned to a degree, but it has a lot less of those like paranoia factors as well, so it might be a much more enjoyable high than something like Delta 9.
Just goes to show you, science will always outrun the law.
Well, yeah, because, you know, Izzy touched on something. She said that that's not regulated, right?
Yep.
But, you know, regulation isn't necessarily always what I'm going for first. I would rather have research. I'd rather have it to where these laws allowed us to. We should already know. Izzy, 20 years ago, we should have had all this information if the federal government would have let us do what we were supposed to do with this information, and that's research it, right?
Yeah, and the sad thing was they were starting to do research, really great research, like in the 70s. And then, you know, got all that racially motivated fear-mongering that occurred, and, you know, it just really shut everything down. Like, they were starting to do research, and I can only imagine if that research wouldn't have been stomped on, where we would be today. But, you know, that's why I'm always advocating, you know, this is what I've learned from the little research I've done, but, you know, this is just scratching the surface. You know, we need more studies, more research, more people looking into this, because there's so much potential for things that it can help, and such a wide variety. You know, I'm such a big advocate for people using cannabis to medicate in various ways, but, you know, like these whole talks I've been telling people, it's all about the terpenes, the cannabinoids, the different combinations. I always say there's a strain for everyone and everything. You just have to know where to look for and try some things out to find what's best for you. But unfortunately, without all that research, it's really hard to find the best thing for people, because we're kind of doing guess and check work and trying our best, but not necessarily always having the resources we need to accurately and fully medicate someone to the best of our abilities.
A strain for everyone, for everything. That's awesome stuff. Izzy, where can folks find out? Because, look, as I know that your website's growing and you're putting stuff on there all the time, where can they find out more information and find this content that you've got out there?
Yes, you can go to greenbee-learn.com for all kinds of information about the cannabis plant.
Awesome stuff. Izzy, we're going to catch you next week. Thanks so much for the info.
Thanks. Bye.
All right. So next up, I don't know if you guys want to do a break or a song, go straight to the interview, but next up I've got an interview with Representative Peter Merideth, and it was a very engaging interview, again, from the visit to the Capitol that we did. I heard he had his own idea of what legislation should look like, so I ran up there to his office, and I wanted to know what did that look like. So it was very, I have to say, eye-opening. That this guy who's in office actually had put together legislation and put it forward every single year that he's been in office, but we haven't heard about it. So I wanted to go up there and get some info and some and nail down some deets on it, because, you know, I always like to ask about number one, expungement. Obviously, I like to know about that, and I like to know about, you know, access for patients and veterans and all that. So I had a lot of questions for him, and he spent a lot of time in because these folks were in the middle of a filibuster over voting districts and stuff. So it was really cool they took the time to listen to it. So you guys got that keyed up for us? All right, Representative Peter Merideth, you guys will be right back. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Waxy Brown's Flower Power Hour on KKID 92.9 out of Salem, Rolla. So I'm in Jeff City at the Capitol with Representative Peter Merideth of St. Louis, South St. Louis, correct? Yeah. So we're up here talking about legalization efforts that are currently underway, as well as legalization efforts that we've experienced in the past in Missouri. I wanted to get your take, because you've been a proponent of legalization. In fact, I believe you've written your own bill. You've been a proponent for a while. Can you kind of walk us through what you've seen as the ailment that Missouri's seen with our cannabis program so far?
With the existing medical?
With our existing medical, and how that affects us going forward with an adult use conversation.
Sure. Well, honestly, I think it complicates the adult use conversation quite a bit, because we put in the Constitution a lot of detailed provisions about the medical marijuana industry. But I think that's all overcomable when we go ahead and legalize. But I think the biggest challenge we have is now we have an industry that has started based on a system that, frankly, was designed by some of the folks in the state to limit the market, at least on the provider side, and really lock it up among a small number of providers, and not make it truly competitive. As a result, almost no matter how we go forward, we're going to have a complicated system of them having a competitive advantage in that market. Even if we open it up so that others can compete, they've already got their foot in the door. And I think that's going to create some really interesting challenges for us going forward. On the more just policy side from a consumer standpoint, I think the medical system has actually put in place a nice groundwork for people getting much more comfortable with the idea of cannabis being all around and not really causing any harms. You know, the biggest complaints I hear from people are about smell. And
sometimes prices.
Prices too, no question. Although my hope is that the wider we make the market available, that starts bringing the prices down, as we've seen in some other places. But I think we've got a decent groundwork for protections for consumers and patients. But I think the industry side, the people making money off of it, that's where we have some bigger problems that have been caused.
So it's an interesting perspective that you just brought up. So in Missouri, you're saying that the adult use market, or the medical market, has really helped to normalize the cannabis plant within our state borders here. Now, going forward, that market is about to explode. And so the other part that you're hinting at here, not hinting at, but you're saying, is that it may look like a blossoming market going into an adult use market, but you're saying that it actually could be very restrictive if we do it the wrong way.
Absolutely right. And honestly, we've set the precedent to go about it the wrong way. With some very influential people in state government really locking up contracts. I think there's been a ton of corruption in the process, and people violating even some of the language in the Constitution, but we have no accountability mechanisms to find that out and stop them.
So then how do we rewind the problems but progress with the good parts?
Yeah, and then honestly, it's a tough question. I'll tell you, every year that I've been in office, I've filed a bill to legalize. And so that's the focus on progressing to me. It's about stopping treating anyone as a criminal over cannabis use or sale. And honestly, a lot of places when they've legalized, they've still kept basically a separate class of cannabis use that is criminalized in a ridiculous way, a very oppressive way. So there are things like that we need to avoid as we go forward. But on the industry side, I think, honestly, we need to focus on opening the market as fast as possible. And I filed a bill this year, and I have gotten it passed as an amendment in the House multiple times now to get rid of the cap on licenses. It's my belief that's at the core of the problem when it comes to the monopolization of the industry. The fact that the department decided to go with the very lowest number of licenses they were allowed by the Constitution to issue.
Because it doesn't say that doesn't say anything about ceilings. It just tells us the minimum.
It just said they had to have at least that many, and they decided to treat it as a cap. And in so doing, they were able to limit who could participate in the marketplace and favor a certain group of people that they wanted to get a head start in the process. I think sooner than later, we have to get rid of that cap. We also need to put in some transparency mechanisms so that the companies that are engaging in the business are actually playing fairly. And right now, we can't even find out the ownership structures of these various companies involved. And so, we've got a limit that says no one company can have more than 5 licenses, for example. That's important to make sure the marketplace is competitive. It doesn't get all locked up by one big company. But we don't actually have a way to make sure that the same people that are owners of one corporation aren't actually owners of another corporation that also has 5 licenses, and that has another 5 licenses over here, so that they're actually locking up the licenses. Some of those licenses they may not even be using, but they're locking them up to delay others from entering the market. So I think we need some transparency there to make it so that at the very least legislators can see behind that curtain, even if we don't let the general public, which I think there's some reasonable basis not to make sure that we can hold them accountable if they're violating the rules that we do have.
So going forward, we talk about opening up the market, which I'll tell you as an advocate, that would be the most wonderful thing for me. But I also do get scared a little bit that I don't necessarily want Missouri's cannabis programs and industry and job structures and all that to feel exactly like Oklahoma.
Oh, no.
I'm a little worried that opening up things in some ways could hurt us, but I think opening up all the way with things like expungement, social equity programs, things like that's a different ballgame, of course.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Again, we're talking kind of two sides of the coin, in my opinion.
Yeah.
One side is about making sure that the people who've been involved with cannabis in the past and been in trouble with it aren't still paying consequences years later, even though we've moved on as a society from that. Frankly, they never should have been dealing with those consequences, in my opinion. But to make it so that they can't even participate in the market, for example, because they participated in the market before, is really just, it's sort of this way of legalizing a black market and creating a mafia that runs it. But as far as opening up the market goes, I want to be clear. I'm not suggesting we make it where anybody can open up a shop and just sell with no regulations. I think regulations are still important. We got to make sure that people that are running these businesses are doing so in sophisticated ways. They're not
clean medicine.
With clean yeah, absolutely. Because there are a lot of problems with mold and other things like that. If people don't know what they're doing and there's no inspections, it's just like every other product we have markets for. We got to make sure it's done cleanly and safely.
Yeah, I believe clean testing is at the heart of when we start to talk about the future of cannabis. We look at 2, 3, 4 years down the road. We look at states being able to sell into other state markets and things like that. The folks in charge of our current program don't believe that should be an ideal that we should embrace. I do think that as Missouri, I do believe that we're set in the heart of a great place to export good hemp products, good industrial hemp products, good cannabis. And to once we open up those kind of markets, I believe that at that point, prices are going to be where we need them. But to be able to succeed economically with cannabis, so that it's hard to find that happy medium, isn't it?
That's also a really interesting point, though, when you look back at the end of prohibition of alcohol and how Missouri was positioned in a great place to really capitalize and grow in that market. AB and others, we became a dominant producer of alcohol. And I think that there's a similar culture here that would be really strong in this industry on a national level. We'll see if it gets opened up beyond state lines. I think we're waiting on federal changes for that, of course.
Yeah, and the good thing about the cannabis industry is it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, and the government doesn't want to lose out on that.
There's no shortage of dollars, that's for sure.
I really
that was true even before it got legalized.
That's very true. I really appreciate your time. Is there anything that I touched on that you'd like to touch on that I didn't touch on?
Yeah, actually, so that other side of the coin is really something that I'm maybe more passionate about than the market. We can all fight over who's making money off this stuff, but what's important to me is that we're not locking people up. And when I see people going to decriminalize and legalize, most of the bills I see maintain a whole system of severe felonies and consequences for people that don't buy through the legal mechanism. And you look at our current medical system right now, and we have a whole class of people now, mostly middle class people, mostly white people, that are very comfortable with the medical community, have a doctor who will write their prescription, or have no problem going online and paying $100 to get a certificate, like I did. Sure. I went online, it was super easy, but I also talked to my own doctor about it because I have one that I see regularly. A lot of communities don't have that. But now there's this $100 barrier, basically, to get this certificate through a doctor. And a whole large community, largely the community that was already criminalized and has been criminalized for decades, they're still buying it illegally and possessing it illegally under this market. When really they should be treated no different than me. But because they didn't pay that $100 up front and figure out how to navigate that system, they have the potential of still being locked up and having their lives, frankly, ruined by criminal charges and convictions. Any legalization effort, in my opinion, has to take those away and start treating this more like we treat alcohol or cigarettes, where we regulate it, we limit who can buy it, we say you got to do it in these certain ways, but we're not responding with these massive criminal penalties if somebody violates it. Fines? Sure, I get it. Small criminal consequences for somebody that's exploiting the system and like selling dramatically more product without a license, okay, fine, let's deal with that. But I don't want to be locking up users anymore. and we as a state need to be past that.
I do believe it's weird how addiction's criminalized at almost every standard.
Yeah.
But it scares me to death that cannabis has been in that tool belt for law enforcement for so long. Just glad that this conversation has happened at the Capitol, and you've been a real proponent. We're really grateful for that.
Well, and I would say it's so different than so many other drugs when it comes to addiction, and it never should have been lumped in the same way. But that said, I'm with you. I filed a bill this year to decriminalize other drugs as well. for users, not the sale.
Sure.
But because small end users, it's a health issue. It's not a criminal issue. And the longer we treat it as a criminal issue, we're just creating more problems for ourselves. And frankly, oppressing a community that's already significantly oppressed.
So I got one more for you, and that's this. We do have 40,000 Americans that are left behind as this industry makes billions and billions of dollars. The problem that we see out there is that these people that were arrested, everyone wasn't just arrested for, quote, cannabis or marijuana or pot, or they used language out there like distribution, manufacturing, a controlled substance, those kind of languages. Are there any conversations on how to find these folks?
Boy, certainly conversations. I'm not sure easy solutions.
That is real, right?
Because, frankly, there are still a lot of people that are just scared. Politicians, I mean, of being too forgiving in this context. They don't want to be perceived as soft on crime. This is what got us here. This problem is what got us here in the first place, and it's the reason it's so hard for us to get past it. What it's going to take is some people with some political courage to say, let's stop making people be treated as criminals for something they did a long time ago, regardless of where they were on this drug war paradigm, right? Like where they were on the spectrum of drug crimes that they committed. It was still part of this drug war that we know targeted specific communities unfairly, didn't treat everyone equally, and really treated people as criminals that most of the time weren't. So unless they were doing something violent that they also got locked up for, let's just get rid of this record and give people a fresh start.
Well, thank you for your political courage, Representative Merideth.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Thanks for being on the Flower Power Hour. You guys, what a wonderful conversation. We'll be right back with you. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Waxy Brown's Flower Power Hour, where we had just a little bit of political courage. Steve's going to take us to a break. When we get back, we got Ray from Weed, Weather, and Whatever, as well as Canna Convict Project. We'll be right back with you guys. Stick around.
world out there, son. It's dog eat dog.
Somebody should have beat you with a tricycle years ago.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to Waxy Brown's Flower Power Hour on KKID 92.9 out here in the Grozarks doing anything. So we got Rachel from Weed, Weather, and Whatever on the line. Ray, what's going on?
What's going on, guys?
Our little ray of sunshine out there in Kansas City, Missouri. Man, I'll tell you what, today was the day when you talk about weather, and you know what I'm saying? And yesterday, too.
It's been nuts, man.
Yeah.
I'll take the 65 degrees, but I'm not excited for what else is coming.
Right. Hey, we're bringing on another superstar. We got Canna Convict Project on the line. Who do I have here?
Hey, it's Chris. How y'all doing today?
Good, Chris. We got Chris and Ray on the line. What's been going on out in Canna Convict Project's world?
Well, this just a couple days before Valentine's Day, we did a signing event with Best May Wellness at their Valentine's party, and we gathered a bunch more signatures for Trevor Saller, for the pending clemency of Trevor Saller. We're going to send him to the governor. We've got a massive stack now to get there, and we're hoping that the 5 pounds of supporters, or 5 pounds of paper of supporters on his desk is going to be more impactful than just sending 1 or 2 letters of support. So we did really well this weekend. Probably got about 40 or 50 more signatures, and every bit helps. So
now those signatures, you guys, I know you guys were getting signatures for one of the initiatives too, as well, right? Or no?
Yeah, we were gathering signatures for the initiative as well, for Fair Access Missouri. There's been some signings going on all across the state, and that was one of the first events that we were able to start gathering some signatures. And we were pretty successful. We got just about as many signatures on the petition as we did for Trevor Saller. So for the amount of people that came to the event, it was pretty exciting.
Man, that's activism at its best, man. I commend you guys. So what's on the? So I know right now it's winter and spring's on its way. What's on the horizon for Canna Convict Project over the next springtime?
You know, we're going to try to continue to spread the message, try to get out to as many events as possible, and, you know, just make people aware of what's really going on. There's a lot of people out there right now that don't think that there's still people locked up for cannabis. They just can't believe it. And, you know, it's you know, we obviously know what's going on. There's over 40,000 people, nonviolent cannabis offenders, locked up across this country, and a good portion of our population don't believe that. And so we're going to continue putting that message out there, continue letting people know, like, hey, these people are sitting behind bars, rotting away, while we're out here enjoying our lives and enjoying our cannabis.
Yeah, it is kind of strange that in Missouri we've had medical passed for a while now. Which in Missouri, just to be real about it, that's pretty. We got pretty decent laws for our medical marijuana program when it comes to how much you can possess and all this. We've got a lot of cannabis out there, and we still have folks that are in jail, which is really weird to me that we're moving on to an adult use and still don't have all these stamped out. So when we look at these changing laws, like that's kind of what we're looking for, right?
Right. I mean, I would expect it to be on any legalization matter anywhere in the country from here on out. You know, we know that the dangers of cannabis aren't what they've been portrayed as for the past 8 or 9 decades. We realize it's all been a lie. You know, we're changing our tone all across the entire country. Multiple states have legalized completely, and we still have people sitting behind bars. So, you know, we got to change that. Any legislation that comes forward for legalization, it needs to include the expungement and immediate release of our nonviolent cannabis convicts.
And that being the key, immediate release, because they've been there for something they shouldn't have been there for to begin with.
Yeah. I mean, that's what Canna Convict's calling for is 100% expungement, 100% release. That's your mission, right, Chris? What's the mission?
Absolutely. We're trying to get all of our nonviolent friends and family out of incarceration. We want to get them back on their feet, integrated back into society, and they definitely need to have a seat at the table if they want a seat at the table in the legal cannabis industry.
And there we're talking about jobs.
Then we're not doing it right.
Yeah, and there we're talking about jobs. We're talking about equity. We're talking about the same kind of opportunities everyone should have.
Well, absolutely. These guys and gals were our first manufacturers, our first dispensaries, our first cultivation facilities. They were providing medicine before it was legal to do so, and thank goodness for them, because how many people would have been suffering had they not been able to access that medicine?
Yep.
Absolutely. Ray, what do you have going on with Weed, Weather, and Whatever?
She's got a lot of weather coming.
I know. What do you got going on your podcast this week?
Man, you know what? It's like unpredictable. I can't even predict it. But it is a full moon, so if everything's been weird, that's probably why. And
It
I think
has.
really we're going to be dealing with more of the ice. Everybody's worried about the snow, and I think it's going to be more ice. It's going to be a concern. So
But then what's your weather, what's your temperature supposed to be like over there on Friday? Like back up right into the 40s
Steve,
and
she
stuff?
doesn't actually do the weather.
So yeah, we're gonna like a steady drop from about 65 today to I think 9 degrees
Right.
on
Right.
Friday morning.
Right.
So
We're right behind you, but then
yeah, you guys are about the same.
But then it's supposed to be sunny here in the mid 40s on Friday. So
it's gonna bounce right back. We're supposed
Right.
to be 60 degrees again early
on
next
Monday.
week. So
Beautiful.
The roller coaster of weather, baby.
yup.
All right. Awesome stuff. Where can we find Canna Convict Project?
You can check us out at cannaconvictproject.com. You can check us out on our social media pages, Instagram at Canna Convict Project, or on Facebook at Canna Convict Project. If you know anybody that's incarcerated for a nonviolent cannabis offense currently, please reach out to us. We'd love to do whatever we possibly can to help. We don't know about anybody that's rotting away behind bars if you don't let us know, because there's no list out there that we can just go look up who's a nonviolent cannabis offender. So please reach out, cannaconvict at gmail.com. Give us all your information. We'll get to work on it and see what way we can potentially help you, and let's get your family member or your friend out of incarceration.
All right. And Ray, where can we find the Sass with the Grass online?
On the Facebook and on the YouTube, by the way, too. Hey.
Right on. That's Weed, Weather, and Whatever. We're going to take a quick song. When we get back, we're going to talk to Larry Stiffelman with Taste Buds Dispensary. Thanks for listening, y'all. We'll be right back. Hey, everybody, that was Little Feat with Let It Roll. Welcome back to Waxy Brown's Flower Power Hour, where we've got our favorite dispensary on the line, Larry Stiffelman from Taste Buds. What's going on? We hear you got new news.
You know, there's a lot going on. Hi, Waxy,
Hey.
Steve, everybody there. Everything's going great at Taste Buds. News is right. Lots of flavors. Drive-through and online ordering is on. It's running. A patient drive this Saturday. We have our 2-week anniversary party starting on Monday, and we're going to offer some of the lowest pricing in the state so far. You know, we're a mom and pop, and we take it in the shorts, and we're doing it for the 3,000 patients that have made our first year the most amazing year that I can't even tell you how much we appreciate you guys and the Waxy universe in mid-Missouri.
No, it's a
Congratulations,
Congrats,
Larry.
man. It's
You
been
know,
such a wild
that's
year.
awesome, man. You
Wow.
know, because you were our first customer from the dispensary. We love you.
Our first
and
sponsor.
just to hear how excited you are, you know, your 2-week celebration of your first year open. So absolutely fantastic.
I'm very excited about something else they have. He sent me some pictures earlier of their new drive-through at
Right.
Taste Buds. That's progression, man. I dig it. I can drive through and get my herb. Larry, tell him about it.
Can you imagine, only in America, I swear to God, drive-through marijuana? I mean, I'm pinching myself. Think about it.
I know.
And it's true. It's supported by the city. St. Clair is great. The Franklin County is great. Up and down I-44, for the most part, is great. Keep your receipts in your bag. It's a safety.
Right.
Look, I don't know who you're voting for legalization. My point is, sign a petition. Everybody vote.
That's
we
right.
need it legal. It's peace of mind. It's Waxy universe. It's Larry freedom. Seriously, we have
It's real. I get it. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Support legalization of cannabis. We always have since the beginning. This is what we need.
So now you got a patient drive coming up this Saturday as well, right?
We do. It's at the Pine Mark in St. Clair. $50 or $25 for the new or the renewal. We're also sponsoring, like we always do, vets and low income. So we're real excited. We did not do it in December, so we had a little void there. So we've been advertising or publicizing it all over, central Missouri. So we hope the weather's great and we have a great turnout. 9 to 5, so all day.
So Larry, what bank did you rob to get your drive-through booth? Because I mean,
It looked like a bank teller
I mean, it
booth.
really did. It looked. Is that like a repurposed drive-through booth that you guys were able to get?
It is. It's repurposed. It's a good story. Those things cost about, new about $40,000. You got to install them. I was able to get that for $5,800 installed. It was ripped out of a U.S. bank and repurposed for us.
Very
at Taste
cool.
Buds. So
Awesome.
I'm just trying to keep the prices down for everybody. We
That's
don't
right.
want to raise prices because we're, adding a feature. It's for the patients.
Well, we're out of time. We're going to catch up with you next week, Larry. You guys stop by www.mocanafest.com. Check out the festival. And www.waxybrownsflowerpowerhour.com is live and online. Check out the store, y'all. We'll be seeing you next week. Stay
Thanks,
waxy.
Larry.
Thanks, Larry.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you guys.
What's your taste bud?
Taste bud.
There you go. You are listening to KKID. We'll be back. Do it all again tomorrow morning.